guess I'll tell you about my favorite. It was depressing.
Sure.
A documentary
Sometimes
as well.
they are, yeah.
It's about this man, Steve Hoover. His best friend, his name is Rocky. I think it's a nickname, though. It's sort of about how his best friend has been living in India at this AIDS orphanage for a couple years, and his visa gets taken away, and he has to come back home. And he sort of follows around his friend in New York and talks about how he's very distant and he's just not himself and he just doesn't seem right. And he agrees to follow him with a camera and go back to India with him. And then, and you see New York and how gloomy and dark it is. And then you get to this just almost wasteland in India where it's just a huge complex with one building surrounded by a wall because these kids have AIDS. And information about it isn't really out there, so people will treat them horribly, of course, if they know. And you see Rocky walk back in where he'd lived there, I think, 2 or 3 years. And he just shines. You just see his face light up, which is the first time you've seen this guy happy in like the 20 minutes of the film. Mm-hmm. And all these kids come rushing out and they love to see him, and he hugs them, and like other people in this town won't even touch them. You know, they're so scared of the disease. And so they could have pushed that button, I think, and they could have made it about these poor children and AIDS in India and misunderstanding, but it really wasn't. It was about this man and how much he sort of found his place in life. Like, he was a really ordinary guy. He was not the smartest in his class, graduated high school but didn't really do much and was kind of aimless. And I think this one sort of is the one that struck home for me, because he just decided to volunteer his life away in this seemingly horrible place. Yeah. And so you see how happy he is with all these kids and how he treats them and how they treat him, and it's really like he's found his family. And it kind of tells you a little bit about his past and how his father left them, and so I can understand where he would have found, people to hold on to. But then you also have to realize that he's with them. He's with these children during the most horrific time of their lives. So you get about, I think, halfway, maybe a third through the film, and Steve, his friend who's making the documentary, has gone back to America, and he's promised that he'll come back for his wedding because Rocky's found this woman in India. And then he mentions one of the little boys that was always around, sort of following him around with the camera, and he was really vibrant and wanted to always be in his business and just always had a smile. And you see all these pictures of him and all this footage of this kid that's running around and absolutely happy. Like, how can they be smiling at this point? And then you hear this phone call from Rocky that says Suri is in the hospital. He's in really horrible shape. Like, it was just really moving to see that he's willing to go through the worst times as well as the good times. Yeah. Like, he literally took care of this child, probably saved his life, and he was one of the only people who would touch him, know? And so it was really moving to really see somebody who's really found their place in life and gets complete joy even with all this horrific pain that he goes through. He's still rewarded in some way. So I really enjoyed that one. Yeah. It's definitely worth a watch.
Cool. What was the name of it?
It's called Blood Brothers because they're, these two friends are kind of the only family they have. Yeah. So it was sad.
A Place for Film is recorded at WFIU Studios in Bloomington, Indiana.